Well, I'll just go ahead and get started. Uh, you know, thank you, Kelly, for joining us. Of course, we have Kelly O'Neill. I'm Brad Bemke with Hyperbots. The conversation that we're having today is primarily around Hyperbots self-learning capabilities. So I have a number of questions wanted to run by you, Kelly. And again, thank you for joining us. But we'll first start with a little bit of background about your experience with Hyperbots and kind of go from there, if that sounds good with you.
Absolutely. I've been a go-to-market partner with Hyperbots for, I think this is my second year. So I've been watching the roadmap evolve and additional features that come out. And especially with the developments in AI, we've seen a lot of progression in the capabilities.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Your experience here is valuable, specific to Hyperbots as well. And, excited to hear some of your thoughts as we kind of continue through this today. But really just to kind of kick us off from the top, your team rolled out Hyperbots 6 months ago. What does self-learning look like from the day to day?
Sure. So it kind of looks like this. The co-pilots are quietly watching every override that are made in the GL. So recodes, tolerance tweaks, approval escalations, and they adjust their behavior as they go. So within two closes, the invoice processing co-pilot stops asking about penny rounding variances it had learned that we already accepted as an example.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like, as you're explaining that, kind of adaptability comes to mind, and how the co-pilots are kind of assuming and understanding your workflows, and that gets sharper over time. Like, how do the co-pilots adapt to company specific processes without code?
Sure. If our accountants are approving due date mismatches, so maybe like up to 3 days, as an example, the pattern registers. So after about 10 of those approvals consistently, the co-pilot would raise its mismatch tolerance to 3 so that future invoices flow straight through.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So obviously it's with that understanding, you take a little bit more of any manual steps, you're really getting rid of those and allowing the AI to make those decisions. Let's talk about the GL recommender agent. How is it improved?
It's improved quite a bit. From day one accuracy, it's gone up to 94% on line level coding. And after analyzing about 2 months of overrides from the users, it's now at 99%.
Wow.
So it's even learned that vendor A's prototype boards always hit our R&D prototypes account, or something generic systems still miss.
Okay. And does the AI retrain the entire model every night?
No, it doesn't need to do that. Hyperbots uses incremental learning, so only the deltas with high confidence human confirmation are injected, and that avoids catastrophic drift and keeps audit teams happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. How is confidence actually measured before a behavior change goes live?
Yeah, great question. The platform needs a quorum, so generally 5 identical human actions plus consistency across 2 periods. Until then, it logs the suggestion, but it stays in an ask mode.
Okay, gotcha. And can you give an example of outside invoices, say in vendor management?
Yeah, we have tightened up document quality thresholds for W9 images. And after we repeatedly rejected low resolution uploads, the vendor copilot learned the pattern, and now it auto rejects any file under 200 DPI before we even see it.
Wow, that's awesome. So obviously understanding, hey, this is something that, we're rejecting. It's low resolution, getting it out of there. Maybe does it even like suggest a higher quality image, or is that for like earlier on, would you say?
Well, rivals retrain generic models offline every quarter. So that's expensive and slow. So Hyperbots learns in tenant in real time, bounded by our own data. So there's no cross-company bleed and no PS fees.
Awesome. And how do you prevent copilots from learning bad habits?
Oh, yeah. Only validated actions count. So if an override is later reversed, the data point is tagged low confidence and then it's excluded. So outliers trigger an alert rather than becoming a policy automatically.
And is any of our data sent to the shared cloud for training?
Oh, no. Self-learning happens inside an isolated tenant with our encryption keys. And Hyperbots global models stay frozen. Only our private adapter layers evolve in that manner.
As far as self-learning is concerned, can self-learning be paused to lock processes during audit windows?
Absolutely, yes. There's a toggle. So we freeze learning 2 weeks before year-end close, and then we re-enable it after audit sign off.
And how does self-learning manifest in the accruals copilot, for example?
It notice that we often move small GRNI and items under like $50 to period two accruals. And then once competence is built, it auto book that rule. So our month end list shrank by about 30%.
Wow, that's awesome. And thinking about payment timing recommendations, does the model adjust to those specific recommendations?
Yes, the payment copilot learned that vendor B never honors early pay discounts. So it stopped flagging those invoices, saving treasury needless approvals.
How fast would you say you see measurable gains from self-learning?
Oh, GL coding hit 99% in two closes. Invoice STP jumped from 74% to 83% in one quarter, and manual touch points continue to fall each and every month.
That's amazing. It's always whenever you're seeing a 99%, close to 100%, that's amazing. And then I think straight through processing from an STP rate being kind of mid 70s to already jumping, within the first quarter up over 80% is awesome. And, you'd expect that to continue to grow incrementally as well. But any guardrails for regulator heavy sectors like healthcare, for example?
Yeah, yes, there are. We can whitelist or blacklist fields from the learning. And as an example for HIPAA sensitive CPT codes, learning is locked unless compliance approves a rule update.
Well, great. Well, I think really just to kind of summarize everything and wrap up, if you could summarize the ROI of Hyperbot self-learning versus static automation.
Oh, I would say it's phenomenal. Static bots plateau, whereas Hyperbots improves on its own. And we've reduced manual GL fixes by 95% and cut exception queues in half. And then we did that without extra licenses or consultants. So it's a living system that pays continuous dividends.
Well, awesome. I, really appreciate the discussion today, and it's great to hear some of the efficiencies gained, number one, but also just how, as you continue to use the product and, as Hyperbots goes and the agents, continue to self-learn, making a better and better experience and one that's a lot more touchless and less where a human needs to spend time on some of those redundancies. So great conversation, Kelly. Really appreciate the time per usual, and looking forward to continued discussions.
Absolutely. Thank you.